Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. The opinions expressed in the following podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security or investment product. It is only intended to provide education and entertainment about the financial industry and the stock market. Enjoy.
On this episode of Pennies Going in Raw, we discuss the results of the Fed meeting, Bitcoin price, and Elon getting sued.
You find out life's this game of pennies.
Oh, you guys know we only have a 40% runner. Hello, 40% is a fucking killing.
We've been compliant for too long. It's time we go to war.
I don't have a Roth.
Hugh knows so much about the market that his brain doesn't have enough room for grammar.
Hey, who told me about IDEX? It's going up a shit ton now.
Rob, 4%, baby. No way. 4 fucking percent.
You asked the exact same question with 2 words different.
It's like, man, I just got dick whipped for like 20%, and now that f***er's up like 50.
I bet Warren Buffett never did that.
I'm just making this voice memo to call out unusual whales to a fight.
The pennies we need are everywhere around us.
Pennies.
Going in Raw.
Featuring Dan, Deity of Dips,
And Hugh Henny.
Produced by Vinny.
And Christian.
Let's go, baby.
Welcome back to another episode of Pennies Going in Raw. Today is Sunday, June 19th, and we're finally seeing the results of the Fed meeting. We said we'd expect it to go up to around, SPY specifically, to go up to around 385 to 390, 395, maybe even hit that 400 because we were just at, 416, and we dropped all the way to 380, 375 like it was nothing just because the Fed was coming. We expected the pop. We saw the pop go like 385. We were actually recording like while it was at that 380 mark for the Wednesday episode. And we talked about it, whenever he said, hey, no inflation in sight. What'd you see? You saw a pop that popped from like the 378 to 384. We're back. But then past few days, Thursday and Friday, right back down. Lower lows, like we said, after the Fed meeting, you get that pop, then you get those lower lows. One thing I was surprised about was the amount of time. Usually the pop is a little bit longer, or at least the drop it in the very next day and isn't as significant. But I mean, this one did not care about the previous Fed meetings and just, hey, I'm peaking for about 2.5 hours and then we are gone.
Yeah. I mean, look at the pattern. It's what we always talked about, is that we're literally just stair-stepping down. And this is why, in my opinion, we just smoke it, we get her over with, and we get her back to like 330. Listen, like in reality, we're close. Like I think,
we're 10%
I don't
away.
think, I really don't think like we're too far off. Like the people that are saying like 260, 270, I don't agree with that at all. Because the way that I always look at valuations and long-term investing is always based on fundamentals. PE for the S&P 500 trades between, let's say we want it between 15 and 18 PE typically. For that is around 330 to 340, maybe even 320. Okay. And that is where that's in my opinion, what I consider fair value. So not necessarily undervalued, not necessarily overvalued, but that is where it should be trading at. Now, does that mean that it can go lower? Yeah, of course it can. But it goes back to what we talked about that 200-day weekly moving average. That also happens to align close to, or, I'll say within 10%, which I understand is a pretty big margin. But for the fact that we have PE and the 200-day moving average, which is typically the buy spot underneath, all within 10% of each other, in my opinion, that's a pretty good spot to start scaling into some longer term stuff.
Yeah, have you started looking into some longer term stuff yet? I mean, we're almost at the point, but I mean, you always say you'd rather be one stop. Oh, fuck, here we go. I'd rather get off the bus one stop too late than 3 stops too early. Okay, well, that's about selling, so that doesn't really apply here. But Yeah, no, I mean, what are you kind of looking at to maximize your potential here, but also to minimize your risk? I mean, we're getting to that point where it's like, fuck, we're down $130 from all-time highs on SPY or whatever it is.
Yeah, so we knew that the other shot, and we say this a lot, but we knew that, the other foot had to drop eventually. And I always said that when the other shoe dropped, on this, then I would be a buyer, but I would be, the strategy that we talked about, I would implement would be the 20-20-20 rule. So again, like we always talk about, is like every 20% down, add 20% to the position. That was my plan. Then I saw the relative weakness because I think 20% down was about that 385, 390 mark on SPY. And I said, okay, listen, I'll wait for the 200-day moving average. Now, underneath the 200-day moving average, so let's just say like sub 350, that's where I'll really consider about throwing, maybe 20 or 30,000 into, because again, I use the example of using 100,000. That's probably what I'm going to start with, is scaling into $100,000 long-term, position. Every 20% down. So sub like 350, 340, that's probably where I'll be looking to add like $20,000 or $30,000 worth of stock. And then if it goes down another 20%, I'll add another 20,000. And that's what I wanted to implement. And that's what I want to implement. And so I know that, like I said, that when the other shoe dropped, I wanted to wait. I mean, I wanted to add on the first 20% from all-time highs. But again, we saw that weakness. And that's why even if you're not a great trader, if you can just kind of tell the difference between relative weakness and where key support and levels are, I mean, you can use that for your retirement accounts.
I was just about to say, something you haven't talked about in a while that I feel like it's a good time to talk about is, for the people that don't have Roth IRAs or haven't started one. And look at Mitch, he's blowing up balloons in the middle of when he's not talking. So he's giving out, his poor little heart's about to give out.
It's funny because I couldn't blow up balloons in high school. So it's my girlfriend's birthday party today. So I'm a little behind the 8 ball, but what do you call it? But I'm really proud of myself because last time I tried to blow up a balloon, I passed out. So really,
I was addicted to whippets. So I was sucking nitrous out of balloons. So we're both different, dude.
Made you pass out too?
Yeah. No, it's not. Yeah, same.
Look at us.
Same end result, dude. One was probably just a lot. Well, I don't know. This probably more severe. You're probably the one that need to go see the doctor. I just need a rehab. But anyways, something you haven't talked about recently. Roth IRAs. You want to start one, whether or not hey, maybe you've been trading for the past 2 years, and recently you got to a point where you're like, fuck, this is pretty hard. I need to scale back a little bit. You want to start opening that Roth now. And is that the time to, hey, I'm going to start putting my $6,000 in. And is this a good time to start? Like, hey, fuck it. I'm going to just throw it all at SPY. SPY's never not come back to all-time highs, down 20%. I've got 30 years, it seems like downsides for a Roth and these index funds is the risk is low.
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to start your Roth. And so the way that I would do it with the Roth is that it really depends on how much the $6,000 is to you. And I mean, that really, that's the truth, like that's just like kind of like the I don't want to call it like the, it's like kind of like the ugliest side of like money. If it's like $6,000 that you need, don't put it all into your Roth right now. But if it's something where, you just want to add to another vehicle, another retirement vehicle, and you just want to throw it all in, this isn't a bad spot, especially if we get close to that 200-day weekly average. Not a bad spot. Again, now we don't know where we'll be at in 6 months, which is, going to be the new year. But, is that you'll get another opportunity to dollar cost average in 6 months, depending where we're at. If we're at, 280, great. You get to average down. If we're back at, 390, 490, wow. Oof. If we're back over all-time highs at 490, great. Then you'll dollar cost average like only 2,000. Now, if that 6,000 is something that, is really important to you, then the way that I would do it is that, you have about 6 months left inside the year. So you can contribute about $1,000. So the way that I would do it is that, and this kind of goes back to what we talked about, maybe 5 minutes ago. I like to I like to have risk on, even if it's going to go lower. When the market's down 20% in a year and we're having one of the worst starts to the year ever, I'm okay with having risk on. So if you know that you have $6,000 to spend on the market this year, maybe you add in $2,500 now, and then maybe around September, no matter where the market is, you add another $1,500, and then in November you add another $1,000, and then then that leaves you with around, what's that leave you with? Like another $1,000, and then maybe in December you add another $1,000. Something like that, where you pick your spots, and it doesn't really matter what the price of SPY is at. But again, is that if $6,000 is really going to sway my net worth, I'm still okay with you having risk on right now. Or I don't want to say like risk on, but I'm okay with you taking a bigger nibble down here. Because again, is that historically, if we break below the 200-day weekly average, weekly moving average, and we hold below there, again, we've only even broken below there inside the past, since Dan and I have been alive, we've only broken down below there 3 times. COVID, .com bubble, 2008. And every single time was at least 100% return, if not more. I mean, it was more, but you at least got 100% return. Even from COVID 2 years ago, it was 100% return from below the 200-day moving average. So I'm okay with you nibbling down here. Just understand that it can go lower. So you have to evaluate, okay, can I just throw $6,000 in here and it go down to $4,500? Like, is that going to swing my net worth a lot? And that's what I would do with the Roth. And then the other thing is that this is a perfect opportunity to start like a Vanguard, like an ETF, or like a Vanguard, like 2065 target date fund. This is a perfect time for that. Because again, all of these are down 30%, like a lot of even like I don't want to call it the easiest, but like the least risky ETFs are still down, 18, 20, 25%. And so that's why I'm okay with, like, you want to start at 2065, just contribute $200 a month. For the rest of your life down here, like it'll add up. It'll add up very, very, very quickly.
Yeah. And if you're not sure why we're talking about Roths now and why it's the, proper time, we do have a few episodes on it back around the first 10. You can check out too. But speaking of, low risk indexes, Bitcoin is at 19,000. You like that?
Yeah, I do like that. That's a good one.
It is at 19,000. We're recording this on Saturday around noon Eastern time. So, I mean, fuck, it could be at 70,000 by the time you hear this. Or it could be at 15. But see, this is the really scary part on Bitcoin for me. I remember after reading my first article on a halving back in like 2018, 2019. I was like up my 30%. But I mean, you read about the halving and you're like, fuck, dude, it'd be stupid not to get in before this, And then the COVID thing happened. It dropped down to like from 9 to 3K in like, fuck, it was like an hour and a half. It was scary as shit. I had a lot of my net worth in there. Far too much. And you just see it, go down this far and you're like, fuck, dude, at what point is this just, can this become worthless, or is this going to trade like something that has a purpose, or, is this the end of Bitcoin? And obviously that was an overreaction as it goes from 3K to 65K over the next few years. But, there's always that thing. It's like, well, fuck, dude, is this, this thing, yeah, it's always hit a new high, but it's only been around for what, 10 years? So, that, I think that's where the spooky thing comes in. But I mean, there's something that is in the mainstream now. Ask me fucking 9 months ago, I'd say, it's going nowhere. I would not expect it to be at 15 grand right now, or 19 grand right now. We were talking about it, a few months ago, and said, hey, if it dips down to 35, that's where we can probably start looking at potentially buying. Well, we're at that a little lower than 35 now. So what are your thoughts on Bitcoin given the recent price action? Or is this just, hey, we're going down with the market and we've all accepted the fact we are not a hedge?
Yeah, so the market and Bitcoin have been pretty heavily correlated. And so it'll be interesting to see, now that Bitcoin broke below 20K, let's just say that Monday morning we open up, Bitcoin is still
Bitcoin
below.
Doesn't open, bro.
Yeah,
Closes.
yeah. Let's just say that Bitcoin's still below 20K when the market opens. It'll be interesting to see if we see a gap down, and if that's because of other news or because they are still closely correlated. That being said, though, is that Bitcoin, I think that, one is that we have a lot of margin calls, I think, below this level. And I think as we get closer to 15K, you're going to start to see those people who...
Yeah. Could you say margin call, and there was a big one this week. One of the bigger crypto hedge funds, didn't they get margin called? I remember seeing the news on like Thursday.
So Michael... Oh, are you talking about Michael Saylor or are you talking about a different one?
Probably Michael Saylor, but yeah, I just remember someone mentioning it to me, and I was like, "Fuck, that doesn't sound good."
Hang on, let me see exactly. Well, so here's the thing: is that a lot of people talk about Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy.
Oh, Three Arrows Capital. Damn, yeah, they started their fund in 2012, so 10 years ago with 1.2 million up to 3 billion. To a margin call. Sounds like starting to trade in 2020.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think that there's two things that we'll see is that more margin calls, and in addition is that I think the people who bought Bitcoin probably pretty early, or let's just say that, because there was back in the day, I was actually just talking to someone recently who received Bitcoin.
He's the guy that sold him the pizza. That first ever Bitcoin transaction was a pizza. He just happened to be that guy. He's like, I was working at Domino's, and he's like, I've got this. If you have an app, he's like, oh fuck, whatever.
That would be so sick. Yeah, but so this guy for part of his business, he worked in software. He would get, he would accumulate Bitcoins as a form of payment. Like he would just take it kind of as like a shot in the dark. If someone wanted to offer it, wanted to give it to him, like he would take it. And so there's more and more stories of guys guys and girls, of course, coming out of the woodworks like that, to where it was like they were basically given these free coins, or let's even say someone that mined the coins, they were mining the coins. And so they're really,
at what
all
point
this
does
is
Doug Bonaparte sell? I mean, I think I was talking about the exact same thing this week with a friend of mine too, is like, even if you bought it 500 or 1,000, I mean, seeing your profits go down from 65 times to 15 times, or 130 times to 7, whatever the fuck it is. So it sucks. It fucking blows.
Exactly. And how many people are sitting there saying, okay, it went underneath 50K, but that's okay. I'm still up I still have, it's still above 25K. And then it's like, oh shoot, it's below 25K, or all right, now it's below 20K. All right. And you say to yourself, all right, my mental stop loss is 20K. It goes underneath 20K, and you're like, all right, well, let me see if it pops back up. And then that's when you get down to 16K, and you're like, fuck. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts to sell because they just want to take some profit out. And that's how you get this capitulation, which is what we're looking for in the market right now. But that's how you get, that's how you get like those panic sells and those quick moves down. And that's when I would be, a buyer. But again, is that I don't think that we've seen those people who, mine the coins or were given the coins start to sell, and that's the scary thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about how many Bitcoin, there's like 18.5 out right now. Satoshi has 1 million of them. There's probably 2 million that no one knows where they are. Like, fuck, Coinbase, so many Coinbases, because they're all those 10 word passwords that they give you.
Yeah.
So, But no, I mean, we're at 18.9 right now. We're approaching 7. I think the 17K point is pretty scary too. I mean, that's where it peaked back in 2017 and then dropped all the way back down. And then, that was a pretty big breakout point in November of 2020 as well to kind of put it into high gear up to the 60s. So, it'll be an interesting week for Bitcoin. I would definitely hope that. See, it's shitty because they have to hope SPY holds up, or if Bitcoin.
Yeah. Personally, I and again, this is personally like more of just like a hunch. I think they probably toy with longs for a little bit, meaning that like one night they'll bring it back up to like 23. And then they'll test 20 and hold it. And then they'll test 22 again. And then, like I said, is that all you need is like one big guy to liquidate a little bit and you're sub 16 fast. And so I think that they still want to, or at least from the psychology aspect, I think that they mess with longs just a little bit, just a little bit. Again, it is Saturday, so there is probably lower volume on Bitcoin. I think that it'll be just really interesting to see what we see on Sunday night going into Monday. Because again, is that I would be surprised if first crack underneath 20, if they don't try and hold it, or bring it back up or hold it above there. Maybe not. But, I just would be surprised to just see them smoke it right through that 20 without bringing it back up over there at least once or twice.
Yeah, no, I thought it was funny because Jake Paul had tweeted, he tweeted about Joe Biden's accomplishments, and it was just about, it said, Biden's accomplishments: 1, highest gas prices; 2, worst inflation; 3, plummeting crypto prices; 4, highest rent prices ever; 5, created new incomprehensible language. And I was like, dude, this tweet is just screaming, I have way too many fucking NFTs and crypto. Fuck.
Did he respond?
Did Joe Biden respond to Jake Paul? No, I don't think so. I think,
no,
dude, we're.
I thought you replied that to him.
No, Jake Paul tweeted that, and but no, I'm just saying that's just screaming like fuck, dude. I mean, when you're saying when plummeting crypto prices is in between worst inflation and highest rent prices ever, I think there's like a little gap in reality there. But
well, I also saw something. It was like The Big Short 2 will be great. I don't know if you saw this, but it was about real estate investors recently, because obviously everybody knows that you could get houses for literally nothing over the past 10 years. I mean, you could borrow money for pennies on the dollar inside the past 10 years. And the last 2 years has really just exasperated that. And there was something that I was seeing that, and part of this, like, I really didn't even know until probably about 2 or 3 years ago, was that like, I thought that you needed a 20% down. Like, I thought like you 100% needed 20% down for a house. But no, they were giving them bitches away for like 3%. Like if you had like a hot dog and 2 cents, you could buy a home recently.
Yeah, like you see those
the past,
cars,
like, 10
it's
years.
$250 down, just painted on the fucking window. It's like that's what you're seeing as you're driving through. Like, suburban
exactly.
neighborhoods.
Like I'm seeing these guys with like 6,000 units, like 300 million in real estate and stuff, and then it's like like how much of that, is equity? And it's like, oh, like I'm up to like 7%. What?
Dude, the amount of shit on like Facebook and like of people that like become real estate guys, and like in the past like 3 years they made it big. Like they'll be, all their videos are like, yeah, dude, you take out this much debt, you loan this, like you do that. Now like as it's raising and raising, those aren't set rates.
No, that's the thing, is that they're not set rates. And again, is that all you need is, and this is the difficult part about when we raise rates and when we have to tighten. Okay. And this is why like yes, let me see. It was kind of like the Renaissance era. Yes, when the times were great 2 years ago and everybody was getting money and everybody was work from home and, interest rates were at nothing, it was great. However, now we're paying for it on the back end. And the difficult thing about this is that, and we talked about it a little bit on Wednesday, is that Powell said, we're raising rates while we're inside a good work environment. Well, if you talk to any of your friends who have gotten jobs recently, I would bet more than a few of them more than a few of them probably signed contracts with an at-will clause. And what that means is that company can fire them or lay them off with no rhyme or reason, no severance, just because they can or they need to or they want to. And so even though the labor market is considered strong, again, is that we're seeing more and more companies use these at-will contracts. In addition to that, is that the difficult thing about raising rates is that you're supposed to raise rates to control the economy so that, the economy doesn't have too much growth. Well, what happens when the economy is not growing, but inflation's at, 40-year highs? And again, the economy is not doing too well. Well, you have a low savings rate. And so our savings rate is about 5%. So what do you get? So interest rates, we know, raise the unemployment rate. So what happens when the unemployment, we raise rates plus unemployment, rises plus low consumer savings rate. That means that when unemployment rises, even 2 or 3%, what ends up happening is that more people are out of jobs. Well, when people are out of jobs, again, they have to tap into their savings. Well, right now, the average person is only saving $40 on every 1,000.
Yeah, did you not see the thing that was like it was like 50% of millennials that are making over 250 grand are living paycheck to paycheck?
Exactly. So think about this, is that, okay, so again, we're raising rates, which causes higher unemployment. When you're laid off from your job, you have to tap into your savings. Well, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or you only have a small savings, you maybe have a month or two to where you can kind of skate by. But after that is when the bills start to pile up.
Move back in with your parents.
And you're back in with your parents. And then that's when, again, the supply and demand comes back. So for the past, I'll even call it the past 7 years, demand has been on fire. Everybody's been wanting demand, demand. But I want a house, I want a house, I want a house, I want a house. Well, what happens when, again, and I just want to, because this is like macroeconomics 101, but, again, we raise rates, which raises unemployment rate, which means more people out of work. When you're out of work, you have to tap into your savings. When you have no savings, you only have a small shelf life before you have, especially if you have debt. And again, we have $1 trillion in credit card debt, which is accumulating at anywhere between 12 to 20% interest. So that's $200 billion a year. So again, you only have 2 to 3 months maximum. I'll even say maximum before, again, those creditors start lining up, and then you start to default. So you default on your credit loan, you default on your auto loan, you default on your mortgage, and then we get all these foreclosures. And again, I'm more giving examples from 2008. But again, is that this is the type of thing where if unemployment rates rise only 3 or 4%, this is what you will see happen. You'll see millions of people go into default. And that's what happens. And that's why keeping up with the Joneses right now is too expensive. And that's why $5 per gallon. Now listen, realistically, what is it costing the average home? These new gas prices, maybe another $150 a month, maybe.
Let's say $2 if you got to fill up 4 times 28. Let's say $300 a month, probably, depending on how many.
Yeah, so three. Well, I'm saying, what's the difference, right? The difference would be like 150, right? Or you're saying the difference is 300 extra?
I was gonna say, if you're paying an extra $2 of gas for a gallon.
Yeah.
Let's say you got to fill up your tank. How many times a month do you think the average person does? Let's
probably
say
3 or 4, yeah.
Okay, 3 or 4. You got 15 gallons, so 36 on top. Yeah, okay. Oh, you were around 150. If it's $2 higher, yeah.
Yes, and so listen, that sucks. Okay, that sucks. I'm feeling it. I literally am feeling it. And I don't drive that often. However, should that be the thing that sends you into, default? No, absolutely not. It should be one of those things where, hey, honey, we're not going to go out to dinner. We got to cut down on the out to eat dinners, and we got to cut it down from, 4 times a month to 3 times a month. That's what should be the difference. But the fact that again, is that gas prices doubling, again, although they suck and although it's terrible, it should not be the difference between life or death for your your home and your student debts and all the other things. And then again, is that at some point, student loans are going to get unpaused. So what happens to that consumer savings index, or the consumer savings rate when we got to start paying student loans? That goes down even further. So my whole point to this is that, listen, keep an eye on unemployment rates. We have to raise interest rates, but again, is that I think overall is that the economy is in a bad spot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll correlate directly with the market. But this is probably, but again, is that as long as you can afford it, you'll be okay. That's what most of this comes down to. Now, is that will home prices come down? In my opinion, yes, they'll come down from where they were. Do I think that they'll go down 60%? No, I don't think that. But do I think that some people are some of life is going to hit a few people inside the face? Yes, 100%. Because again, it's that you got to take the good with the bad, and some of those real estate investors, or even people that bought homes. I was talking to some guy who he puts literally, I'm not joking, 5% down on every home, and I was going over his numbers, and if his vacancy rate goes above 20%, which isn't ridiculous,
that's not crazy. That's one of every
that's not crazy
houses, yeah,
exactly. And he was like, I'll just sell one of the units. And I was like, well, what if there's no buyer? He's like, oh, dude, there will be a buyer. I don't know. That feels like a lot of like a lot of risk.
You're banking on a lot of stuff happening.
Exactly. And he's not the only one like that. I know that there's a lot of people that have been doing that recently. So if you're one of those people, dear God, for Hugh and Dan, make sure you have a backup plan. Do not count on the market or other people. Again, is that if you're going to default over a 20% vacancy and your solution is I'll just sell one of these units, and again, you're going to sell it for double what it was 2 years ago. Think over those numbers.
Do you know the historical relevance at all of the gas prices right now? I don't know how much it's up compared to other times. You got to think in times of inflation and bad market, et cetera, is, obviously there's a lot of different things causing it, but you got to think when it comes to oil, it's more of hey, Russia, Ukraine, and supply chain mainly. When do you think we see a, change in the gas prices, or do we just have to wait for Russia to figure that out?
It'll probably be closer to the end of summer. Now, Biden's going to Saudi Arabia to talk to MBS. However, MBS in the United States are a little estranged, and it's what we talked about earlier. About MBS killing the journalist, and Biden had said recently that that although gas prices are higher, he would never what was it, his
sacrifice his ethics for, but he has to do what's best for the American people if he can, I believe.
Exactly. And so it'll really come down to, can we boost production, or can again, supply and demand, can we gain faster supply to keep up with demand? That's really going to be the question. And personally, I think that it'll probably take till the end of the summer to figure things out. I don't really think that oil companies are in a real rush to do that, to bring prices down. Again, because the summer is their busy period, and it's a lot easier to price gouge when oil's going nuts and super volatile. You know what I mean? They can skim off an extra 20, 30 cents. I know around here, I was seeing 486, you go a mile down, it's 506. So, but again, as prices were at 220 and 2 is a considerably bigger difference than 486 to 506 or something. So it's a little bit easier for them to price gouge. So I don't think they're in a super hurry.
That is a funny thing, because even it may not seem like it's up as much, but percentage wise, it doesn't even fucking matter. You're still paying an extra 30 cents or $2 or 50 cents or $1 a gallon. Even if it's increased 50% or 10, that still just hurts the consumer the same.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I don't think like, and again, is that what are they gonna say? You know, they're gonna come back and say, you know, you talk about price gouging, they're gonna be like, oh, well, like oil's super volatile right now, you know, just because it's this price now, you know what I mean? And so, you know, there's a 3-week delay, stuff like that. So they can get away with price gouging a little bit more. And I don't necessarily mean like price gouging, like, you know, like mass storing Corona. I'm talking like, you know, price gouging,
Martin,
you know, 20, 30 cents.
making the like.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Well, I guess one more thing. We can make this quick just because it is just a little suing allegation. Elon Musk getting sued for 234, is it million or billion?
I think it's billion.
Yeah, $1 billion over alleged Dogecoin pyramid scheme. You think that has any backing or to it, or do you think that's someone just trying to catch a bag?
No, that guy's just trying to catch a bag. I looked into the guy a little bit. He's like encouraging everybody to, you know, to join his pursuit against Musk.
Sign my petition.com.
Yeah, that's like basically what it is. And so, you know, I really think that I really think like, you know, like, do I love what everything that Elon Musk does? No. Like, do I think that like, you know, do I think that like he played a little bit of a game with Doge? Yes. But however, you know, it's nothing that warrants this, you know, and you know, Elon, like he's going to fight this to the teeth. I don't think he'd ever settle over some nonsense like this. And so I'll be interested to see what happens, but chances are that, you know, this guy doesn't really gain any real traction, and it's not worth going against the richest man who has 7 billion lawyers. You know what I mean? Like you think you're going to get, you're like, the freaking government can't get Elon Musk. You think you're going to get Elon Musk?
Yeah, good luck. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on Wednesday. Trade your hearts out. Love you. Bye. Hey guys, if you're tired of trimming your stocks too early, well, let me tell you something. Never worry about trimming anything early ever again with Manscaped. Let me tell you about their Performance Package 4.0. It comes with free boxers, a toiletry bag, and free shipping with a little discount when you use code PGIR. I mean, it comes with the razor you need, the sprays you need. I mean, dude, I mean, obviously, clearly I can't show you guys what's going on down there, but if I could, man, you guys would be amazed. Wireless charging, it's waterproof. Take it in the shower for all I care. I mean, it's going to get you right. It's got the light. Man, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer I have ever used. And that's not all it comes with. It comes with hella other shit. Like the boxers. And look, I get it. Not all of us are boxer guys. Give it to your girl. She'll like them too. But man, when it comes with the weed whacker, that shit's for your nose or ears. I mean, you could, God, Manscaped has something for every hole and crevice of your body. So make sure to use code PGIR on manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. That's code PGIR, manscaped.com.
Pennies Going in Raw is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.